For many people working in health systems, dashboards are everywhere. They promise so much. But more often than not, they're frustrating or sit on a server collecting digital dust. Primary care is especially susceptible to this. So much time and money goes into developing and updating different dashboards for PHC, only for them to fall flat. Priority targets that are buried among dozens of less important indicators. Complex logins that makes it a pain to access. Poor design, meaning it's hard to make sense of what you're seeing. And worst of all, fragmented vertical program-based platforms that mean users have to navigate and compare across multiple dashboards instead of just getting a simple consolidated view.
To address this problem, a recent peer learning collaborative brought together 35 primary care leaders across 13 low and middle income countries, all of whom rated improving their PHC performance dashboard as a high priority and had them work together on a solution. The results? A comprehensive primary care dashboard redesign toolkit that's now been published to help other system leaders to go from a mess of ugly, underutilized dashboards to something that really works in moving towards true data-driven decision making. The number one conclusion of this work is that the solution doesn't lie in expensive software or an army of coders, but rather a tried and tested process which members of the collaborative modeled themselves with support from their peers.
The toolkit lays out the entire dashboard redesign journey as a simple three-phase roadmap. First, you have the preparation, which is all about laying the groundwork for your improved PHC performance dashboard. Next is design, which is where you build a tool which presents the right data and is intuitive to understand. And finally, you have implementation, which focuses on how to make sure the thing actually gets used. Let's walk through each of these in turn.
So, step 1, which we call the preparation phase, is all about understanding what the final users of the dashboard actually want. It looks at what metrics are important for them. It looks at what tools are they using now to understand their performance and how do they actually fall short in the main. To help this process, the toolkit provides a range of different methodologies that help to build up your understanding of how the new dashboard needs to improve on what's out already. This includes a maturity matrix to score your existing dashboards by their functionalities, followed by a stakeholder needs assessment questionnaire to prioritize what your users want, and a KPI selection tool to choose the metrics that will be included in the very final dashboard. And lastly, a checklist to plan the next steps and other actions that will be needed for the rest of this particular project. Like everything else in the toolkit, all these tools were co-produced by and for the participants in the very collaborative.
In Mongolia, we had an ambition to improve the current very basic dashboard we were using for PHC performance management, and which was not widely used, with something that would be more engaging and intuitive for frontline providers all the way up to senior decision makers. We had already undertaken a structured KPI selection exercise, going from 57 down to 9 key performance indicators as part of a reform to introduce pay for performance in primary care. This became a template in the toolkit for how other countries can decide on the priority indicators so that the dashboard can focus on presenting the most important data that people are most likely to use. In progressing our design, we used the maturity metrics to grade our dashboard against an ideal standard, and this revealed opportunities to make it easier for people to find and log into the dashboard and creating different default views for different users. Finally, we undertook a stakeholder needs assessment exercise with over 200 different PHC providers and other health officials across the country using the co-developed questionnaire. From this, we understood that while most stakeholders were confident in their ability to use performance dashboards, few of them were currently using them regularly, especially at the front lines. The survey also helped us to understand exactly what kinds of uses they expected the dashboard to be most valuable for, such as tracking trends over time, comparing fatalities against one another, and understanding which targets were and were not met and why.
So once you know what data to show and what you want to achieve, you can start working on how to show it. The design phase that defines the visual components and functionality of the final dashboard. And a good rule of thumb for what you're trying to achieve is the 10-second rule. That's the average attention span of most adults. Meaning, if your dashboard design doesn't grab a user and be easy to understand within that time frame, you're going to find it an uphill struggle to get them engaged.
Here is an example of what we are trying to avoid. To understand this chart, your brain has to do a lot of mental gymnastics. First, you have to look down at the key. Next, try to find the right color, try to match it back up to the bar, and then try to compare the height of the bars that are not even next to each other. There's also a lot of reds and greens, which are actually colors that 10% of people are struggling to see. It's low, it's inefficient, inaccessible. These are perfect examples of poor dashboard design.
Now look at one of the prototype examples produced after applying the tools in this part of the toolkit. By orienting the bars horizontally, they can be more clearly labeled, as well as reorganizing them so you can read across by region and by indicator. Trends over time can still be accessed through the use of filters at the top. This graphic is instantly readable, and that's the power of good design. It uses the way our brains naturally look for patterns to automatically present data as insights that you can understand and act on.
So, we've understood the users, we've harnessed the principles of good dashboard design. Now we need to execute the process in a way that will make sure the dashboard is actually used. This section of the toolkit contains guidance and good practices that are most overlooked, but arguably the most important in any attempt to re-engineer a primary care dashboard. This is where you make sure all the previous work actually makes a difference and makes an impact through regular adoption into weekly meetings, policy discussions, and performance reviews.
The tools in this section include tips and tricks for ensuring dashboard use. Things like finding champions in the organization who can teach their peers, or making the dashboard a standard part of routine meetings. You can even track who is logging in and offer some extra help to those who aren't. Broadcast the early success stories. If a clinic makes a positive change that's been guided by the dashboard, make sure others hear about it to build up the momentum and change culture. It also includes tools to help you plan your pilot, like a pre-filled template Gantt chart and recommended evaluation metrics to check that the rollout is going well.
Because ultimately, redesigning a dashboard isn't about technology or platforms or chart types. It's about culture. The dashboard is just a catalyst to create a system where using data to make decisions and understand how to improve becomes the normal way of doing things.
If you think this is something your system needs to work on, we encourage you to take a look at the toolkit on the website of the Joint Learning Network for Universal Health Coverage at jointlearningnetwork.org and search for the PHC Performance Management Collaborative.